Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Real Life Process podcast. My name is Teresa McCloy, and it is great to be back with you again this week. What I'd love to do this week, if you don't mind indulging me just a bit, is to celebrate something. And so I just yesterday posted my 1700th post on my personal Facebook page where I have been doing an extraordinary moment for 1700 days. So, today on the podcast, I would like to share with you a little bit about that practice, why I do it, what's the story behind it, and maybe invite you to consider some type of practice, a rhythm, a behavior, and a routine. So let's dive in. So, as I said, I have been doing a practice of making a post. I first take a picture sometime throughout the day of something that is, when I first started, was called an ordinary to extraordinary moment. So I take a picture and then I write my thoughts about that picture sometimes towards the end of the day, usually in the evening time. And this particular practice started for me about 6 months after our son Eric passed away in 2017. So it was in the spring, actually, of 2018 when I started this practice. And, I was still walking through, in many, many ways, a period of grief and mourning, of course, from losing our son. And if you don't know that story, I write about it in my book, but our son passed away in August of 2017 from an overdose, from a drug addiction. And so that's been a part of my story and a part of my journey. And so in the spring of 2018, I decided that I needed to live into this rule of life that I was teaching in some rhythms, behaviors, routines. I needed to start forming some routines again in my life. And one of the things I decided to do was to just really be aware of God's presence in the very small, ordinary things. So, the passage of scripture from Romans 12, 1 and 2, has become a life verse, a business verse, a overarching verse in my life where it says, take your everyday, ordinary life, your eating, sleeping, going to work life, and place it before God as an offering. It's a little bit of a paraphrase, but from the message version, it reads something like that. And there's more to that passage that I absolutely love. But it was this idea of, for me, I needed to notice that God was in just the ordinary things and that we had walked through an extraordinary, crazy season in our life, a 10-year journey with our son Eric and within our family, but that God was still showing up and he was right there in these small, small moments. Moments like a beautiful flower or a sunrise or a great conversation. Or most of the time, many of my extraordinary moments are with other people in community. And so I just wanted to start capturing those. And I decided that I would do the practice. It was a season of Lent, and I have used the practice of Lent off and on. We're actually in that practice right now as I'm recording this episode. And we're in that season. And I decided as part of my practice, I would post a picture of an ordinary moment that was extraordinary in my life that brought me to God's presence, brought me to noticing where he was showing up when I might not think that he was, and I might be doubting that. And I would post it on my personal Facebook page, and then I would write something about it. And I started numbering the days. And so at this point, I have done that for 1,700 days. Now, that's a really long time. It's over 4 years that I have practiced that, maybe even over five. I'm not sure. I have to do the math. It's probably over 5 years. And it has become a rhythm and a behavior and a routine for me. I can't imagine at this point, it's not about how many days, it's about taking the pause and practicing something. So, one of the things that we work with in our content and I write about in the book here at the Real Life Process is this idea of creating a rule of life. And we've done episodes on it here on the podcast. We talk about it. We call it a modern day rule of life. And there's a sentence in our description of a modern day rule of life, and we'll include the whole definition in the show notes if you want to look at our definition of that. But that says behaviors, rhythms, and routines. So discerning with God what your life is going to be about, and then putting in behaviors and routines. And so I kind of have three P's that I think come from this idea that I've been practicing for all of this time is practice something. I just want to challenge you today to practice something. It doesn't have to be a social media post. That was just a place for me to capture my story, but practice something. Is it journaling every day? Is it recording something audibly? But it's about practicing something, creating a routine, a behavior, a rhythm that is a way for you to say, this is unformed, but yet it's forming in me. And I posted that in my post yesterday. This is unformed, but it's forming in me. And so as it's forming in me, it's okay to like just express it, just to put it out there, to feel safe in that. But for you, it might not be about a post on, like I said, a social media platform. It might be a journal recording, might be an audible recording, might be in the notes on your phone, or a document that you have. But what would be unformed for you that you want to capture, that you want to be able to go back and see as a part of the behaviors, rhythms, and routines that God is putting in there? There's something too, I will say, about the discipline of doing something. Um, I joked with a friend that I've never done anything for 1,700 days except stay married to my husband. And we'll be celebrating our 41st wedding anniversary in 2023. So, what are the things that you could do? Simple, it probably takes me 10, 15 minutes to do that post. But what it has brought for me, and that's the second P, is pondering. So as I'm going throughout my day, I am very, very aware of the moments that are happening and the things that are happening. And is this the moment? Is this the moment that's going to be the extraordinary moment of the day? It brings my awareness and my awakeness to a whole new level. Is this the conversation? Is this the pause? Just this morning, I walked into my co working space, and the guy who owns our space is holding his little 8-month baby in his arms. And he's getting ready and he's scurrying around and doing different things. And I thought, what a moment. What a moment to be greeted by a little baby with her little smile and her beautiful skin and her beautiful big eyes, and to say, wow, this is a new life that's coming into this world. I got to hold her for just a moment. And I'm going to be a grandparent for the first time in June. And it's just bringing me a different awareness. And so I'm looking for moments throughout the day. And I'm thinking about those moments and I'm considering them and seeing where God is showing up in them. So at the end of the day, I might have snapped 2 or 3 pictures. And it's which one? What am I pondering? What one do I want to post about today? Sometimes I've seen something on social media that strikes me that's funny or joyful or brings a question to mind, and I'll share that as well. So, first, it makes me practice something. Secondly, it inspires me to ponder things differently. And thirdly, it actually draws me into praying about something. Many times now, after I make my post, I just pause and I just pray. And I'm just either in a place of gratitude and thankfulness, or I am in a place of praying for the person that maybe is a part of my extraordinary moment for that day. but it pauses me to ponder and to pray. And it causes me to take that time to let God be in my life, not just out there somewhere, but in my story and in my life. And so, practicing something, pondering something, praying about something are all the beautiful ways that this practice of taking an ordinary moment and saying, how is this extraordinary? Has been such a beautiful life experience for me over the last 4 to 5 years. And it started with something small. I never intended it to do it for the length of time I had. And I know for many of you that listen, you are journalers, you are recording things in some way, shape, or form. But if you're not, or if you've let it go, I just want to encourage you to start it again, to re engage with a practice, a behavior, a rhythm, a routine that you can bring into your life that invites you to the awareness of where God is moving in the everyday, ordinary moments. It's why I close each and every podcast that I do by saying that phrase. Every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. That awareness brings you into a place that is so different. And it's not always about easy things. Sometimes there's hard things. And can I bring God into those places as well? Can I make that part of the practice? Not just all the shiny, wonderful things, but the hard moments too. He's showing up in the ordinary and the extraordinary. And is an ordinary moment actually extraordinary? There's so much there that you can explore. So I invite you to that. I invite you to that practice. I invite you to connect with me. You can go out and follow my posts if you would like to. Send me a friend request. Uh, Find me on Facebook. I try to post it on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn every single day. Um, but Facebook is where I originally started, but you can find it on all of those platforms. If you'd like to follow along, I would invite you to do so. Come and join me in the practice of ordinary to extraordinary. And I'd love to hear about how you practice some of these same things. And you can do that over in our Facebook community. We have a free Facebook community. Just request to join it, the Real Life Process community. And we would love to hear about your practices of capturing those things, your thoughts that are forming in you. So, as I do on each and every episode, I'll close by saying every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. We'll be back next week with more from the Real Life Process podcast.